But first, let's start with the flying cigar, the Vickers Wellington. The Wellington was 64 feet or 19.5 meters long. That's just 1.5 meters shorter than the Lancaster, and only 3 meters shorter than the mighty B-17. In other words, it was quite a big plane, with only 2 Bristol Pegasus 9-cylinder engines to carry it. And surprisingly, that was more than enough. The Wellington had a combat range of 1,550 miles or 2,500 kilometers. And that's when it carried 2 tons of bombs. How's that even possible? Let's refresh our memories on how aircraft airframes are built. The fuselage is basically a number of bulkheads and/or formers connected to each other with stringers. And a wing is some ribs attached to the main spar. These ribs are stiffened with stringers and everything is covered with aircraft skin. Sounds easy, right? Well, probably not easy, but still rather straightforward. But the aircraft designers always have to consider the following. How many of these structural elements do you want to have in a plane? Too few and the aircraft would be very light, but not too strong. Too many, and the plane would be sturdy alright, but you risk making it too heavy to actually fly. You have to find the perfect balance every time. But what if you try a completely different approach? That's exactly what the fathers of Wellington, Barnes Wallis, and Rex Pierson did. They decided to form the whole of the fuselage with a special geodesic structural elements. In this type of construction, you use a very limited number of formers to make the shape of the aircraft, and then flat strip stringers are wound around the formers, creating a basket-like appearance. That is certainly an unconventional way to make planes, and the assembly of a proper geodesic or geodetic airframe takes a long time. But it was certainly worth it. The new aircraft turned out to be very light. Moreover, there were very few interior structural elements, which meant that there was extra room for bombs and fuel tanks, which allowed for an increased combat radius. Furthermore, the structure was exceptionally strong. Shooting at the Wellington with armor-piercing bullets was like trying to break a basket with a stick. You could hit it all day, and the basket would still be there. Even blowing one-side beams would still leave the aircraft as a whole intact, and you could repair it right in the air. No, that's not a joke. With a bit of luck, wire or at least some loose fabric from the skin, you could bind the stringers back to the frame in the middle of the flight. Where other types of aircrafts failed, Wellingtons returned home. In the late years of the Second World War, these bombers were superseded by the larger and more powerful heavies, but it was the Wellington that claimed the title of the most produced British bomber of the time. The tough flying basket served in a multitude of roles, from anti-submarine warfare and reconnaissance to passenger, mail, and freight carrying. Hardly a surprise given the fact that it was very easy to refit them. It was the middle of the 50s when the last Wellington was finally written off the inventory, and that was not the end. In a way, the bomber gave its wings to Vickers VC-1 Viking, the first pure jet transport aircraft. So yeah, that's the story of how a flying basket was able to edge into the jet age.